seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes! Get in there! The voice is rolling and everybody's jumping. It's been a title race that has had many peaks and troughs, as they say, and all that bullshit. Do you know what? Today we've seen a Celtic side, up for the battle. We've seen a Celtic side who reminded us why we've fallen in love with this Postecoglou side in the most difficult of surroundings. The hoodoo is gone. The team showed today the exact form they were shown at the start of this season. It has been a joy to watch this sunny afternoon. And you felt today springtime is coming. The darkness of winter is now kind of coming to an end. The optimism is coming to a peak crescendo right now. And Celtic are at the forefront of my mind with regards to all of that. I'm delighted to be joined. Yeah, that's a dig, by the way. I'm delighted to be joined by Phil McWinley, who is obviously a previous guest on the Double Doon Show. If you want to the Double Doon Show, you then navigate over to getting to do post-match pish, which is, let's be honest, the headline act. It is the place to be. The support act should be just about finished by now. I know there's probably a full service just finished somewhere else in YouTube sphere. But anyway, we are going to dissect an unbelievable, yet again, Celtic result in 2022. A team that has only dropped 2 points so far in this league title race. A team that looks like they're ready to become champions. I'm excited. Phil McGinley, how are you feeling?
That was a hell of an intro, mate. That was awesome. I'm feeling great, mate. I had a bit of cold through the week. I've come to the end of it now, so this is the perfect remedy for it today. I've actually got a few glasses of water on hand because I imagine I will run my voice into the ground talking about that performance today. Because yeah, you nailed it on the head, mate. That was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So I am looking forward to dissecting this one because I did have a fear when you said to me come on post-match pish. And the last time I was on was right after a bad defeat. And I looked at the fixtures and I was like, fucking Livingston. I bet I go on and it's going to be a bad day. But no, luckily I'm not a bad luck charm. We've got a good result to talk about. So I look forward to it, mate. Let's dive right in.
Mate. We certainly do. Before we get started, always thank the sponsor, fanboyfootball.com, for sponsoring. The merch has been slightly delayed, but it is going to come. I have seen the designs of the t-shirts. I don't expect everyone to buy them, but they're there if you want to. We will hopefully have an announcement the next sort of 7 days. I'll be back in touch with fanboyfootball.com this week just to check on the progress. I think there's 3 concepts we've got. It's exciting times because do you know what? Since this pod started, Celtic's form took a fucking uplift in form. And I believe that positive energy, it happens, mate. See, when you're positive in life, good things come. And, let's be honest, all credit goes to the team and our manager and the various coaching staff. He's now picking and choosing. It'll be the dinner lady as next manager of the month award, by the way. I'm fucking telling you that. But what I will say is this positivity that we've had in the bus, it is all thanks to everyone who's viewing, right? And it is what turns this into something a wee bit different for trying to replicate sports scene. And that is, to me, a healthy thing. But the bus is rocking tonight. There's comments coming in left, right, and centre. I would love to say me and Phil have this huge agenda ahead of us, and we've got real points to get into the nitty-gritty of. There's a few, but we're going to let today's show be a lot about the fans feeling, because right now, the wave of optimism after a result like this, there's a monkey off the back. There's another 3 points when the games are running out as well. This is the beauty of it. And I feel that the fans are everyone's in such a positive mood. Where else better to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour of your Sunday afternoon than on the double, triple, treble decker, if you may, if I may. Boise bus. Let's get stuck into it though, my man. So, tempo. I want to talk about that. Celtic, I felt, found their tempo back after they got their goal against St Mirren midweek. I thought the first half was a bit lethargic. I thought it was a hangover. I thought it was a bit of a hangover from the defeat in Norway. And what we seen in the second half, once we got a goal, was the confidence coming back and that belief back in what we do best. And what Celtic do best is play at an energy level other teams can't compete with, because technically it's all there with Celtic. This is a team of 11 men. Even Ralston, I'm now including in that. They are so comfortable and confident on the ball that it's all about how faster paced we can execute it. And what we've seen at Livingston today, I looked at the lineup. Now I put my I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I put my neck on the line. That was it. And I said the ace in the pack that's needed is going to be Giakoumakis to combat Livingston's physicality. I thought we blew them away in a completely different manner this week, Phil. I thought today's performance showed a side so up for the battle. What was your takeaway, even in the first half? Whilst the goals hadn't came by then, I felt extremely confident watching that Celtic side that, do you know what, we've got the bit between our teeth here.
Mate, my first thought, just quickly on the lineup, was I noticed on Twitter, and to be fair, when I agree with Giakoumakis, I thought that was like a nailed-on start with the physicality. When I saw it was Maeda, and I thought of how Livingston usually play and how tight it's going to be. And Maeda, obviously, we defended him when we were on a couple of weeks ago together. We talked about the runs he makes. It's like, oh, is he going to have one of those days where he's making all the right runs? But something that took me by surprise, first 20 minutes before the goal, it was a very open game. I don't know if it was down to how we were playing, or did Livy decide, you know what, we're going to actually be a bit opener, because the first 10 minutes, they caused us a few problems. And the save that Joe Hart made at the corner, big number 6 for Livingston, got a toe to it, and how he got a correction on this was quite incredible. But Joe Hart sees it late. It's a phenomenal save. And I was like, oh, we could have a few problems here. But then we did take control of the game. Now, obviously, we got the penalty first and foremost, which is a talking point in itself. I think it was a penalty because the shot is going, is goal bound, as an on-target shot. It's hit his arm, and that's always put it out. I think if it was not on target, I think the referee probably would have waved it away. But it is, going towards goal. But of course, Cal McGregor steps up and misses it, sadly. And the one small consolation you can take from that is the goalkeeper actually went the right way. So even if he got it on target, I have a bad feeling he would have saved it as well. But then, amazingly, we scored off a corner. When was the last time, that happened? It was, because my first thought was with Starfelt's header actually going in. But when you see the replay, Maeda's had to follow in because it is going past the post. Brilliant that you found that wee bit of space, because again, just how tight Livingston usually play. And he's just getting there, done what he had to do, went in undetected. And yeah, that first half, like, we were just so in control after that initial wee foray from Livingston. As soon as we did take the lead, we just were dominating the game. Other than that, at the very end of the half, where they hit the crossbar from the set piece, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. We've still got a few minutes with them.
We'll slightly cover. We'll smile at it now, but yeah, it is a concern.
Yeah. But yeah, going in at half time, I did feel like, okay, we are comfortable here, but I have read this chapter before. We've had a few games this season where first half we have been pretty good. we go in at half time and something seems to happen. We come out second half and we're all over the shop. But no, we actually kept that tempo up. We were fantastic from start to finish and thoroughly deserved the win. Livingston didn't even deserve a goal in the end. I'm quite annoyed that they even got one back. Ultimately didn't mean anything, but still, it was a goal out of nothing. So I was absolutely elated with the performance, man.
Yep. I think the team selection, I mean, I seen a couple of thoughts on Twitter, people thinking that Ange was going to be hung out to dry if this hadn't went the way we wanted. I actually thought what I liked about the team selection was he based it on the last game. Now, he's watched the subs come on and the impact they had against St Mirren, James Forrest, Tom Rogic, and he's went, and I think I've used this narrative a few times, Phil, play the fixture.
Yeah.
Play the fixture. The reason Tony Ralston started today was the epitome of that, because he will have that dig that we needed. And what a compliment it is that in a game that is notorious for Celtic to struggle in, where, again, we're level on points before kick-off with our rivals, Ralston's trusted now against everyone's favourite guy. Juranovic seems to be, the flavour of the month. And I get loads of positives about Juranovic. I love the fact that Ralston was trusted for the fixture. I also like the fact that he went on what he'd seen on Wednesday and took a bad out, who, if we look at the bigger picture, as we're always meant to, remind ourselves, when it's a negative result, look at the bigger picture, man. Well, if you look at the bigger picture, Abada should be ahead of Forrest on this season, right? But Ange picked it on what he'd seen in the last 25 minutes, etc., at Celtic Park midweek. And Forrest started on merit. And boy, oh boy, does James Forrest, I felt he looked more like his old self midweek. I said it on post-match push midweek. I felt that was more like it for Forrest. And I thought Jamesy today would have been, if he got man of the match, I'm not sure who officially got it, but if he did, it was well earned. And again, now you're looking at Ange Postecoglou, masterstrokes. Rogic, I felt, was more effective than O'Reilly midweek when he came on his sub-appearance. Forrest was more effective. Ralston's chosen because he'll get this fixture, if you like, in a way that, not in a bad way in Juranovic, just we need folk like that. We need a bit of dig sometimes in these sort of games. That worked. The surprise, I suppose, was Giacomakis not starting ahead of Maeda. Again, who gets the first goal? I mean, Ange must be grinning more than I am right now, Phil.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We're at a stage now this season with how close it is. We've just got to all be on the same page. Any player that comes in has to contribute. And I will put my hands up and I will admit I have been one of the many critics of James Forrest, particularly this season. He's had a lot of games where he's been completely ineffective. When I did see him starting today, I was like, wow, that's a bit of a call. But my God, he was fantastic. Because James Forrest's peak, no doubt, was the Brendan Rodgers era when he had Patrick Roberts pushing him for that starting position.
Agreed.
The two of them were playing brilliant. And I felt with the way Abada's been playing this season, I thought maybe we'll see that James Forrest again. But it could also be down to he came back off a long-term injury last season.
Aye.
It's been hard to get back up to speed. But I did fear for him today when he went down in the first half when he landed awkwardly on that bloody plastic pitch. I was like, oh no, this is not looking good at all. But no, he was right back up, and he was great and took his goal really, really well. Got in behind, which again is baffling me how that happened today against Livingston, given how they normally play. All these runs in behind, I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem. But no, brilliantly timed run, amazing finish. So fair play to you, man. He was absolutely great. So more of that, please. I say we all, for the remaining 8 games of the season, everyone's just got to be contributing. When they come in, they get a start.
Yes.
They've got to take their opportunity because now is not the time for passengers, and he took his opportunity today. So good on him.
Yeah. I mean, I messaged you first half. He was hobbling. It looked like he went over his ankle. Again, he was in a position that I think maybe you would expect Abada to be taken up a wee bit more. And that, again, it's not a criticism of Abada. I think he's so effective when Abada cuts in. I think he's a brilliant finisher.
Yeah.
And James is in that almost centre-forward role, chasing it down. Clever move. And you think, that's who you want there. He goes over his ankle. And I messaged you saying, I hope he's not coming off, because I've actually liked what I've seen so far for Forrest. I don't kid on to be Nostradamus or ITK or know any more than anyone else. But just my vibe of Forrest was, he's picked up for where he left off midweek. I think it's easy to underestimate how difficult it must be, particularly when you're in your early 30s, like Forrest is. I think he's 30, maybe 31 now.
I think he's turned 30, I think.
91, I'm sure he was born. You know what I'm like with that. But I think Forrest, he's been in and out as well. It's not like it's been that easy to come back. 12 months out is a long time in football. And I felt that very often when he had a poor game or he looked a bit of a passenger, it was, well, I think we can write him off. And I'm like, 10 years credit in the bank, a couple of poor displays, and we're going to say his career's over at Celtic. I found that a wee bit headline-ish, if I'm honest. And I never subscribed to that. Again, my point of view was, yes, disappointing at times, but that's only because he's set huge standards.
Exactly.
Particularly as you say, since 2016 sort of era, when he got competition for that role, and Paddy Roberts pushed him, and he did elevate himself. Well, I can't think of anyone better to be pushing James Forrest right now for that role than Leo Labada, who's got 14 goals this season, something like that. Yep. I don't know how many assists, but I would guess it's in double figures as well.
It's something like 15 goals, 12 assists, something. They're both in the teams anyway. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think Forrest today was a decision that Ange made with zero sentiment, purely based on what he's seen midweek and who he thought would have the biggest impact. And it worked big time. The second, the goal that Forrest scores, I felt was testament to his display, but also had hallmarks of the moment you remember James Forrest for as a player, Phil. And what confidence does that give Forrest? And how big a part could we have a quadruple treble winning player? How big an impact could he possibly have between now and the end of the season? Because he now starts the next game. Default. Fact. He starts the next game. We are in a race, if you like. And I'm telling you right now, with 8 games left, Forrest could be like a January transfer window signing that's coming in late now, with the impact I think he could have, based on what I watched today, and your eyes don't lie.
No, that's true. You know, you've heard that like wheeled out before about players that come back after a long time injury. It's like a new signing. You're right. In his value experience, it's incredible to say James Forrest experience, because you still look at him and he does look about 22 years old. But I mean, he has been, how many trophies has he won now at Celtic? He's been in the team for over a decade. So it's like his experience in that dressing room, because there was that comment a few weeks ago. Tom Rogic was asked at Motherwell, you're top of the league, and he said something about, we've been top for the last decade, but there's only a small collection of players in that dressing room
left
that falls under, which is him, McGregor, Forrest, so guys like Abada and stuff like that, who's only still 19 years old. I don't know if he'd won anything when he was playing in Israel and stuff like that. And some of the players like Starfelt, I don't know what trophies they've won in their career, but guys like Forrest who've been there and done it and have been through title races, this is huge, that he can, be back in about the team, and hopefully pass on some influence to the boys. Is the next game, I believe, is it Dundee United in the Cup, isn't it? Or is that a league game we've got next?
Oh, fuck's sake, you put me in the spot, really.
No, just when you said he starts the next game, I was just thinking, what is the next game? I think it is Dundee United in the Cup on the Monday night game. So we've got a wee bit of a rest now between now and then. Because we ain't got a mid-European game, because that didn't go too well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I criticise the European thing. I mean, I'm going to have to pull this point up, though. Is the P.M.P turning into an Axon show? Mate,
civilized.
Right, let me just remind you of one thing, right? Nobody gets stabbed in that in the show. Nobody's picturing in their pint glasses and drinking it. But what I will tell you is, ask Phil. The reason we were at 18 minutes past 2 and not 2:15 is because I've ran back for the boozer. So I can rest assured.
Yes.
If anyone thinks this is turning into vanilla ice cream and a rip-off of Sports Scene,
and the pre-match huddle, the pre-match huddle that me and Boycey had before we came on, is basically Boycey was, I don't have anything written down for this, we'll just kind of wing it. And I was like, Sound. Good to
We'll
be.
use the crowd. We'll use the interaction. That always works.
Yeah.
So
Definitely not civilized. Definitely not.
That narrative. Come on. If you're looking for negatives, mate, I'm not having that one. You little fucker. But yes, Forrest we can move on from, because he wasn't the only impressive display today. Now, we looked, I think everyone, I wasn't just me waving the flag for Giakoumakis to start. I call him Chaos Giakoumakis, not Georgios Giakoumakis. I think that name is now going to stick, by the way. Chaos Giakoumakis, by the way, in his sort of display, did prove that yet again today. Sliding in for tackles he can't win, but just earning us respite. Livingston have to regroup, take free kicks in their own half. There's more method to the madness than it might seem, although he is chaos. And instantly we get a set piece. He's winning the header. Okay, he doesn't score, but he's causing them a different problem. But the thing was, it would have been Giakoumakis up front for me from the start, and not a certain days in Maeda. Now, Maeda seems to get criticism. I think folk go overboard when they get offended by that, Phil. I don't think folk are criticised because they think he's shite. I think they just say, at times his first touch again today was rank rotten. Right? And it was. But he scores ugly goals. Now, I was saying midweek about the importance of the Cameron Carter-Vickers goal. Ugly, scrappy goals that we don't get enough of. What you'd have to give Maeda a lot of credit for is none of his goals really have been glamorous. But he's in the right places. He's causing defenders nightmares whilst he's not scoring as well. And the confidence he's going to take from playing such a huge part today in a massive win. Let's not underestimate how big a win this was today. It was huge. I think Maeda's played a massive part in that. He's another one now looking ahead at these last 8 fixtures, feeling on top of the world, looking down on the Rangers.
Well, you shoehorned that one in very well. That was very good. But no, with Maeda, I think when it comes to fans criticism, I think I said this when I was on a couple of weeks ago. I just think with the success of Kyogo, a lot of fans are going to instantly expect that from Maeda. And he's a different type of player, Kyogo, just in terms of his style. And as you're saying about ugly goals, that's right. As long as he scores a goal or somebody in a Celtic shirt puts the ball in the net, it doesn't really matter how they come. But no, he will be feeling good after that, because with the way things have been with Kyogo's injury, him and Giakoumakis have kind of been rotated around a wee bit. Giakoumakis had a few injuries. So Maeda's been sort of like relied upon. He's like the only fit striker at times. I know Ajeti appeared out of nowhere on the bench the other day, but no chance of he getting anywhere near the team. So Maeda's kind of been running to the ground after coming in January off of how many games were they talking last year he played? About 40 games? Straight in. Yeah. And you did feel that with him and Hatate, maybe a bit of fatigue was setting in, because maybe the adrenaline of the first few games was getting them through. But no, he's had a good game again today. Yeah, you're right. His first touch isn't perfect at times, but when it mattered, he was in the right place at the right time. Because if he's not there, as I said earlier on, that Starfelt header's going past the post. It was actually safe, so he was in the right place. He needed to be there, and they all count at the end of the day. And he was obviously in the right place as well for the second goal as well. He got himself into the right spot, and I believe it's officially down. It's an own goal with Nicky Devlin bundled in. But again, if Maeda's not there to put him in that position, Devlin probably deals with that. So again, he's made a massive contribution today. So hopefully it continues.
I was laughing because, see, when I first watched the goal in real time, it was that shite. I just thought, that's Maeda, that's it now. He's actually just walking away from them now. I love it though. Like, it's not a criticism. It's funny, but it turns out it is an own goal. But I think Maeda, they're using Maeda. How am I pronouncing that? I think Maeda. I mean,
Maeda and Maeda. I've heard two different variations of it over the weeks.
We'll not worry too much. But I think David Kelly makes an interesting point here. He says he isn't a player, which is maybe a bit harsh, David. I don't think he's not a player. I think his track record proves he's a player. I think, the J League, where he was top of the stats for numerous things, including goals. But I do get the comparison with Gigi that sometimes they're not Jota, put it that way. They're not the easiest on the eye at all times, but their work rate, their effort, and they give two completely different dimensions than each other. I think they've been wonderful additions to the Celtic team, particularly. I mean, need to remember here, this Celtic side's a 9-point league title swing that we've watched without the talisman. Now, you imagine their excuses. To be fair, I wouldn't even blame the other side if Morelos was out during this period for as long as he has been, and there'd been that 9-point swing. We've done this without Kyogo.
Oh,
And you imagine this side with Kyogo back in there, which we will be fortunate enough to get to see, hopefully sooner rather than later. And that again takes us to another level. But what I will give Giakoumakis and Maeda their due on, they've given defences completely different headaches, completely different riddles to try and solve. And I think that has been wonderful to see. And yet again as well, I think shows that Ange has adapted to this league. Again, I was talking about the Ralston decision today. You know, Ralston ahead of Juranovic. Now, if you read social media, you know, Juranovic is a lot of people's top boy just now. He was taken out for a reason because Ange played the fixture today. He wasn't stubborn. He played the fixture. And what I love to see as well, the triple swap that was so effective midweek, he does the same again this week. It was a triple swap, wasn't it? Am I right? Was it a double swap and then another one? I can't remember. But anyway, multiple substitutions, willing to make impacts on the game. And I thought, you know, the last two games you're looking at a Celtic side, okay, first half, St Mirren, I'll give, you know, the funeral parlour their due, maybe when they were a bit critical of it. And we try to be positive on the bus. But since the second half against St Mirren, and then I look at today, for whatever reason, the message has got across again. And we're looking, I think that looks like a title-winning team. And I know there's a long way to go. We can't call it now or any of that bullshit. We've got two games against our rivals, which the beauty of it is their road's been so rocky since the split. If they're now hanging their hat on beating us twice, that would also mean they need to win the rest of their games, which they've not looked particularly like doing so far. Today was meant to be one of the largest rocks in the road. Phil, we have dealt with that pretty convincingly. And it wasn't just, you know, the guys were singling out. Celtic as a performance today, mate. We're on it.
Well, I think with what you're saying about Ange playing the fixture, I think it just backs up the point. Like, I remember at the start of the season when Ange was announced, and there was a certain journalist, you know who I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to mention his name, but you disagreed with the stuff he was saying when he talked about, Ange, he'd rather draw 4-4 than win 1-0. I'd say other than some of the European performances like Leverkusen and Betis, I can't think of many domestic performances where Ange has done that. I think he's shown pretty much from the start. He knows what he's doing in terms of, he knows how to see games out. He knows how to manage games. This whole idea that he was going to come in, it'll just be gung-ho from start to finish.
Rock and roll football.
Yeah, he's not. It's the total opposite. Like the way he manages games and the way he's utilising substitutes, especially now that the 5 sub rule has come in, he's doing pretty well with that. And that was one that I was going to come up at one point.
Go for it.
That's a good point. Hatati's obviously, as I said earlier on, has been running at the ground a little bit. I mean, we looked at the game at Easter Road. He did look so tired. Like some of his touches were so laboured. And people were talking about maybe having McGregor a little further forward and bringing in Beaton. And again, that happened today. And it worked a treat. I thought again, McGregor, other than the penalty miss, I still thought he had a decent game. I thought Beaton was absolutely fine. He was calm on the ball. There was no silly lapses, because as good as Beaton has been playing this season, and I'll give him all the credit because he has turned it round compared to what he's been in previous seasons. He does still have those like momentary lapses where he just switches off, but again, he didn't look troubled that much today, so that was another good performance. But just backing up that thing about Ange, where I just think that whole idea that he's going to come in and we're going to draw these games like 5 each and stuff like that, I don't see it at all. And you're right, he totally played the fixture today. He just what was ahead of him, and he picked the right team in the end. And it just shows why we are not the manager of Celtic Football Club. What do we know? He obviously knows what he's doing. So, and Ange, we trust, mate.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's so important that you're using that coin of phrase. I said this on the other pod months ago. I got panned for it at the time. I says he's not Ange. I didn't feel was playing the fixture. I get all the other stuff that went on and how difficult it was, but I just felt at times I'm like, play the fixture a wee bit though. And I think the near Beaton one that was brought up, was it Brian Webster who brought that up? Sorry, man. Brian Galt, apologies. The Beaton decision as well, he says, I think I thought I don't have the same faith in Beaton that many do. Beaton, yeah, I get what he brings. It's different from the other team, but I don't know how good he is at it. And I also think he's liable for a red card or a stupid penalty giveaway and putting us under pressure. But in terms of the profile of player, Ange is very clever bringing in that type of profile player. Now, quite clearly, doesn't fancy James McCarthy. That's absolutely fine. He would have been, at the start of this season, that would have been the guy I would have hoped by this stage of the season would be that profile of player he played. If he prefers Beaton, that's on Ange. That's cool. No issue with that at all. He's had now 8 months to check these two out. If Beaton's ahead of him in the ranking, we can't argue with that. That's fine. But I love the fact he's playing that type of player. Callum McGregor gets to play for the forward. I think he's more effective for the forward.
Yes.
I know all the fucking bullshit that annoys me now about NFL quotes these days, right? In comparison.
I know what you're going to say here, but go for it.
Quarterback. It frustrates the life out of me. I can't deny it. Because I don't get it. I'm like, it's not the same thing. But anyway.
It's not the same thing at all. I mean, I do watch the NFL from time to time, and it's like, no, it's not. It's just, I think it started as a lazy bit of punditry from somebody like Jamie Redknapp years ago. He described somebody in a Premier League game, like David Silver or somebody. Oh, he's like the quarterback. And it's like, no, it's nothing like that at all. Like, honestly. No. So it's just kind of evolved and always been continued for years to come. Somebody who's sitting deep, passing balls around. Oh, he's the quarterback. No, he's not.
No, and I love this point coming in by Patrick James Simpson, and welcome on the bus, Paddy, if I may. The way Ange has weeded out the toxicity from last season, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but from last season, like leaked team sheets, etc., doesn't get enough praise. My understanding is the team sheet is still leaked a wee bit, right? And you know, the Boise boss is straight-laced, and we don't pretend to be in the know, but I have been sent, I'll not say who by, but I've been sent many a lineup this season that's bang on the money. I can assure you. So I don't know about that side. But what the point I do get from Patrick, and it's so important, is everything about that Celtic football team, maybe not other stuff behind the scenes that we're still getting wound up about, like the shut stand, you know, the other week, that seems to be brushed under the carpet, but it wouldn't be if this wasn't a winning Celtic side. But what I will say is what Ange has done on the pitch, which we all is the most important thing and always will be. He has brought a positive light to that. I loved, and I ranted about it midweek, the Kenny McIntyre slap down. And it was crucial what he said that, though, because what he reminded you of is, this is a team that had 77% of the ball. I think it was 17, something like that, shots on goal. We gave away no opportunities to the opposition. Joe Hart didn't make a save. And it was a tough watch. No, there was 2 banks of 4 we were camped against, and yet we still found a way, right? And Ange delivers. I think if Neil Lennon, for example, had said, "What team do you support, mate?" Or "Are you not happy that we won?" It would have came over all wrong. Ange is doing everything in this way that you just can't help but buy into it. And I've got to admit, my turnaround on Postecoglou from the start of the season, I had serious concerns. I've ate my words, but you know what? I'm not too proud to say that either. I think it's important that you go, do you know what? He's fucking proved me wrong, and I'm glad. I'm glad he has. It's not like you want to be right when you think something's not going to work, or this might not be working. You want to be proved wrong, and he definitely is proving us wrong. Let's take up a point from one of the callers.
One of the callers? What's your point, caller?
We'll bring up Chunks of my trunk for a laugh because he loves a shout out on the show. And this will have nothing to do with football. This is what makes the Boise Bus unique. This time last year, he had a big razor in his hand more than his phone. But thanks to Ange, he now has his phone in his hand, slagging them lot and dick in their women. Wow. I mean, wow, Chunks. I mean, you exceed yourself all the time. Here comes Chris Fraser, though, saying Kenny McIntyre actually may have done the team talk today. I think what Ange did very succinctly was create that siege mentality without it being, oh, you're all against us, you're all picking on us, just by picking his moment. Let the journalist mess up and then pounce. That's what he did. He didn't look for it. He waited on it. Kenny McIntyre was putty in his hands, and he does create that almost. The team will look at each other going, what was so shit about that? What was such a hard watch? Do you know what? They don't want us to win this. And Ange isn't saying any of this.
Yep.
But it's very clever. Is there a siege mentality coming at Celtic right now? Because I thought they came out, as I say, maybe with the elevated confidence from getting that goal against St Mirren second half, and the second half display was good. Or do you feel that maybe there is that siege mentality building a bit, and it's like, do you know what? See, if you don't want us to win it, it makes us want to win it that wee bit more.
Well, especially with the I mean, they won't be able to ignore the media headlines run into that game there about how we've no won in X amount of years, even though Livy haven't been in the division for X amount of years. But that stuff will be getting to them, like, you haven't won at Livingston and so forth. So they would have had a point to prove, definitely. And they absolutely did go out and prove it today. Now, just quickly on the Kenny McIntyre point, also I listened to you on the post-match pitch and you talked about it. And I think you brought up my comment, but I was driving back from the game on Wednesday night and I heard the broadcast live when Kenny McIntyre asked him that.
Yep.
And it was incredible because when he asked that question, he's like, Ange, there's been a lot of good performances and bad performances. Today was definitely one of the bad ones, whatever he said. There was like a 2-second pause of like silence. It's one of those ones where you can't see it in front of you, but you can kind of see it in your mind. You just know the face that Ange was pulling at that point. And I said to my dad, as soon as that final word came out of his mouth, I was like, he's fucked this here. And you just knew that Ange was going to get him. And what a put down it was. And that wasn't the only one. There was one later in the interview as well, where he said something like, it's going to be a close title race from now to the end of the season, Ange. And you just kind of cut him off mid-sentence and went, that's what you weren't saying earlier in the season.
That's true. Very true.
He nailed them on that one as well. And it's just brilliant. So good to hear. So refreshing the way he deals with them. And you're probably right. There probably is a wee bit of subtlety to it where, again, he doesn't need to go into the players and shout and scream at them and go, they don't want us to win this league. They'll just be picking up on these wee things along the way. He's an absolutely brilliant manager, like psychologically as well. He's just doing everything right at the moment, and we'll make continue. And just another point I just wanted to bring up as well, just going back to briefly in the team selection. You're talking about like Beaton, and like you mentioned like McCarthy and saying he's probably not fancied right now, and that's fair enough. The one that I'm a bit concerned about though is what's happening with Ideguchi, because Ange obviously brought him in January. I know he had the injury against Iowa, but it's like I'd like to see him get a few more chances. Don't get me wrong, Beaton came in today and did his job, but I'd like to see like what's happening more with him, because again, the impression that we got from when we signed the 3 players in the January window, Maeda, Hitati, and Ideguchi, was Maeda and Hitati were like priorities. We've got to get them. Ideguchi, we're just getting them because we can. So that was the kind of the vibe that I was getting from like the headlines I was reading in different journalists saying that they were a bit surprised with picking up Ideguchi. So I'd like to see him get some more chances and, show us what he's all about. Because when it's Ange that actually signed them, it's like, well, you're the guy that signed the player, show us what he's got. Because the McCarthy one is a bit debatable if Ange actually did sign him.
I mean, let's just tell the truth. I mean, Ange Postecoglou did not sign James McCarthy or Liam Scales. That's a fact. When it comes to Ideguchi, I actually think Ideguchi's sort of transgression into the first team is what you would expect from someone coming from the other side of the world, particularly into a winning team.
Yeah.
Why would he walk into it? And particularly when it's the midfield is where we've got our most options, our largest quantity of options is there. I think it's nothing to be concerned of. I think it'll be interesting to see how he's utilised from the summer going forward. I think I think realistically, if we signed one guy only from Japan, right, and it hadn't been Kyogo, or Kyogo, whatever you prefer, or as Ange calls him, Kyoko. I mean, I just think that we wouldn't be expecting that much of him that quickly. We would go, that'll take a lot of time for him to adapt to the game. And I think it's just the standards that have been set by particularly Kyoko and obviously then Hitati initially. That's one of the things. Ideguchi, interestingly, though, remember had the spell at Leeds United where he was pointed out on loan for a couple of years. So he may well have been the one that you thought, well, he's worked on British soil before. Who knows? I'm going to have to go back to a comment because someone's pulling me up for something I said on Axom. Andrew Taggart comes in. Welcome aboard, by the way, Andrew. I don't mind folk calling me. I love this shit. And he says, Boycey, you said players would want to choose Rangers on Axom. Do you still think that? Now, that's very, very wide and vague. I think my guessing on this, and I can't particularly remember the conversation, would have been, right now, if you've got a 50-50 decision, who do you want to join? Would it be Stephen Rangers champions, Rangers that are still in Champions League qualifiers, or would it be Celtic who've just been put out by Midtjylland? Because it must have been transfer window time.
Yeah, but would have been
So
a
a bit of context. Do I still
Yeah.
think that? Well, I still think what I said then, but now that times have elapsed, and clearly we can afford more wages. Clearly, we're top of the table, as Eddie says.
That's right.
That quote's too good. That wee meme
That's
of
a good one.
Edward, Tam Selleck's son. I need to give him a shout out. I know he'll never watch this in his life, but fucking hell, he makes Twitter for me.
Him and Kev Murray, two of the best Celtic Twitter accounts. The Patrick
Brilliant.
Bateman memes are incredible. I always get a chuckle out of them.
And I better come in. Paul McFarlane, dear fan of the show, legend. Tough times he's went through. He's seen the bus as a bit of solace, which we love. Paul, you're always in the thoughts, mate, and it's brilliant that the warmth you bring to the pod. And he says, like and subscribe, troops, which I'm terrible of reminding people. There's 144 watching right now, Phil.
Oh my goodness.
And aye, but this is not a small crowd. And
Nope.
yeah, if you've not hit like or subscribe yet, please do. I think the analytics show that 52% of folk that watch it haven't hit the subscribe button, which is a pity, because I don't want you missing out on other quality content, such as Post-Match Wish or the Double Doon show that you've been on, and the Monday Club with Jonathan. We even do a bit of Championship Manager when I've got a bit of free time. It's great fun. So it's a good laugh on the bus. So if you've not hit the like button, please do, because that gets more traction on YouTube than new. And hit subscribe if you want. Cost you fuck all. Now, let's move on to another topic, because there will be other topics coming in to the bus right now. And Pato, just to quickly follow on the last one, he says, few players have had the impact our new signings have immediately. I think we were expecting the likes of James McCarthy to come in and go, he's ready-made for this. He's played in the league before, yada, yada. And I get that stuff. The other guys you're signing from other corners of the world, Starfelt, I've given his due to. And again, by the way, I thought he had a very good display today. I've got to say,
outstanding today. Yep,
this is a stadium where Chris Julian, the big question marks are over because of a couple of poor displays. I think, in particular, aimed at that stadium. Look at Julian against Lazio, far better team than Livingston, and he was awesome. Not just because he scored that goal, he was excellent in Europe under at Celtic, and he was one of the main reasons I'm missing that we went out to Cluj. Starfelt comes in today into what is, as I say, a notoriously tricky fixture. He excels. I thought he had a brilliant game midweek as well. But his career trajectory, right, is the Swedish league with IFK Gothenburg, to Russia, then to Scotland. It's not exactly orthodox. And the Scottish league, no one claims, right, it's the best league in the world, etc. But it's bonkers. It's tough. It takes a bit of adapting to get used to. Ask Ange. Ange. This league is bonkers in its own wee way. And I think Starfelt is living proof of that. £4 million, Swedish centre-half, comes in. We expect him just to do it like that, forgetting he's moving from the Russian league, having only ever played in Sweden before that. It's a strange career trajectory. And what we're now seeing is a guy who has been persevered with. And by the way, with a Rolls Royce beside him, I think, at Cameron Carter, because we've won a watch with that one. But Starfelt right now, again, is another shining light of what can be achieved when you just keep getting pushed by Ange Postecoglou.
When it comes to Starfelt, like, I've always sort of championed for him, because I think it's been really harsh from day one when we signed him. I don't know why. There was it felt like in the media there was a bit of an agenda, maybe because we spent nearly 5 million on a centre back. It was like 4.5 million roughly.
4.5 million, something like that. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it just seemed like there was some sort of, like, they wanted him to fail. Now, I think he's a victim of circumstance, because the first game he was thrown into was that defeated Tynecastle, especially coming off the back of what happened last season with all the disarray. we couldn't have started the season any worse, so he was always going to, cop flag for that. Yes, he was probably at fault the first goal that night. And then was it Alkmaar or Midtjylland that he scored the own goal against? It was Alkmaar, wasn't it? And a cross comes in, he sees it late.
Looked awful. It looked awful, and didn't it? It did look, the visuals of it, I think, over highlighted, like, oh God, this guy can't even kick a ball. At one point, we were questioning whether he could pass 5 yards. Now, it's not to be overly like a big loving for Starfelt.
Yeah.
I think you need to give credit to these guys when they've came under a lot of scrutiny, when they are doing well. Now, I know there'll still be dissenting voices about Starfelt, and you know, David Kelly, who's in the comments, I always think contributes really well in the comments. I love his point of view because he backs it up with his opinion. I respect that massively, as do so many. But I do feel like the Starfelt thing, we need to go, do you know what? Doff the cap when it is due. And I think big time, he deserves a lot of respect right now. Does it show as well an old school train of thought, Phil, before I let you come back in, that centre-back partnerships is what we used to be told, particularly in the 90s, the early 2000s. That's what you base your team on. You need a solid partnership at the back. Well, for this guy that we've got in charge right now, who we're told doesn't care about defence, all he cares about is attack, and maybe judging by his signing policy, there's a bit of evidence to support that. You're looking at a guy who's knowing right now the foundation of this Celtic first 11 is based on two guys that know each other's game inside out, and that's CCV and Starfelt.
It just further backs up what I've said earlier on about this whole nonsense that, you know, he doesn't know how to see a game out. Evidently does, and even with Christopher Julian now being back and fit, no, he's still not getting him back in the team because Ange has established that Starfelt and Carter Vickers are his partnership, and
he values the partnership as well, doesn't he?
Values it, yeah. I mean, again, just with Starfelt, I think at the end of the day, he is a centre back. His job is to defend, and I think when it comes to basic reactions, just getting the ball clear, he's very good at it. The only thing he is a bit uncomfortable with is if he's got to dwell on the ball, where he's got to maybe run out of defence and pass the ball. That seems to have been a bit shaky for him, right? But at the end of the day, he's, you know, we've got the best defensive record in the league, and he's played majority of the games, so he must be doing his part. You know, that's the way I look at it. Yeah, okay, the cup final against Hibs, he did have a bit of a shaky one against Kevin Nisbet, who did give him a few problems. But really, you know, a few games at the start of the season and that cup final, but otherwise I think Starfelt's been fine. Yeah, Carter Vickers has been the better of the two, but the two of them are, you know, contributing together as a team, as a collective. Yeah, they're doing their job very, very well. So I'd say with Starfelt, I've always backed them up. So, and especially at this stage, there, say, well, 8 games to go. We need all fans, players, all need to be on the same page and all be back in the team to get us over this line. And then in the summer, obviously, Ange will do what he needs to do in the transfer market. I think next season will be no place for passengers with Ange because he'll recognise this season is a transition period. If we do win the title, it'll be amazing. But next season, it'll be like, right, we've now set the standard, and it's like there will be no passengers next season. So, yeah, we just need to do everything we can to go over this line. And yeah, well, today was a huge, huge step towards that, massive step. So let's keep it going for the next one.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I also think we need to look at attitude now. Attitude. Now, folk don't always like talking about the enemy on the bus. It's all about Celtic, and I get that. But how is everyone feeling about the difference in attitude? Now, I've got a lot of Rangers supporting friends, right? So I've never been one of those just take pops at them for the sake of it. It's really not my style. How do you feel they're dealing with the pressure right now in comparison with us? Now, we've both had tricky fixtures, shall we say. Celtics, though, when you look at it, I knew Monty would be the first one, and I love it. F the Rangers. I knew he'd be straight. I love it.
Endorse that message.
Now, what I will say is, it's very important, though, to always have, never underestimate your opponent. That is the key. If you're going to fight someone in the street, for example, you're being called out, judge them. Don't judge them by their cover. Look how game they are. I am not sure how game they are in comparison with what Celtic are. You look at the facts, right? Realistically, when we go into this final, the split, Celtic, I think, should only have one away game based on who we expect to finish in the top 6.
Yeah, should
right?
have.
We know it wouldn't work like that. But what my point is that is not to bitch about, you know, SFA and fixtures and all that bollocks. What I'm trying to say is that tells you what we've overcame to get to this stage this season. We've played Hearts twice away, Hibs twice away, Aberdeen twice away. Aberdeen with no chance to make the top 6.
Livingston twice away.
Livingston twice away are notoriously tough ground. Our road, our path is so warranted for us to be top of the league. When you look at it that way, I'm saying this in a positive light, by the way. I'm not saying it complaining about the fixtures. I'm just saying, use your Donald Duck how the fixture list generates. But in theory, Celtic should only have, I think, 2 more away games between now and the end of the season. I doubt it will work as such. But what an incredible achievement, even still, when you look at us being three points ahead, when you look at our fixtures compared with our rivals. They've not had to do those same, on paper, difficult trips. Now, again, that's not me saying, oh, it's a conspiracy against Celtic. It's worked out like that. I don't mean it like that. I really, really don't. But what we have seen also is, since we turned the screw, the other lot haven't liked it as much. Now, they've got a 1-0 win. You could say it was title winning form yesterday. They got a late win. They snatched it. But the performance, and this is from a Rangers supporting friend of mine called David, was dross. They were garbage again. We today are in the game you're expecting. If we struggled at Hibs, we were kind of, we've had a poor record, then it's going to be even worse at Livy this week on paper. Celtic came at the traps flying today. The attitude, the mentality of this team is what I want to talk about now, Phil. Because whilst you were talking at the top of the show, we've only got a handful, if that, left, that have won these trebles that we all celebrate, and rightfully so. And in this, and by the way, in the future, we're going to reflect on and go, that was incredible that we won all that. And that's still going to be, I don't think, fully appreciated in the current test of time, but it will be. I think now we're seeing a mentality shift that Celtic look like the team that can handle what is about to come over these next 8 games. And it is 8 cup finals, either way we want to look at it. Do you fancy us, mentally wise, not only just, obviously we've discussed on the pitch and how good we look, but mentally, I fancy Celtic's attitude right now above, the supposed current champions.
There was a comment made a few months ago from the Rangers camp. I believe it was after they lost the cup semi-final to Hibs, where Connor Goldson said that this team's lost its hunger, which is astounding given that they've won 1 trophy as a team, albeit it's a big one, and it did mean a lot to us. A lot of fans will put up the whole, no, we're not that bothered about losing the 10. It was a big deal, and they did win the trophy, fair play to them. But I do think it speaks volumes when you've got noises like that coming out of their camp this season. Meanwhile, a few weeks ago, Georgios Giakoumakis, maybe it was a heat of the moment thing, but he did say, we'll win this league, or he fancies us to win the league. So I think that it just shows you right away.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Phil. Now, I don't think it was heat of the moment. I think for once you had someone answering the truth with what his gut told him. It wasn't heat of the moment. It was no media trained bollocks. He answered the question direct. He called a spade a spade. Yeah. Now, see in life, Phil, one of these things that fucked me off in life, right? I owned a pub for 6 years, right? So you used to see when a customer came in that you didn't know, and within their first 3 minutes of meeting them, they went, I just say it as by the way, and I call a spade a spade. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be a nightmare, right? Yeah. Right? They're going to be a nightmare. Now, I like people calling a spade, but that doesn't mean every time I unlock my shed and I see the spade, I go, spade, spade. You don't always need to call a spade a spade. Do you know what I mean? As long as you know a spade is a spade. There's a big difference between that and people who just want to shout spade at the spade all the time. Now, Giakoumakis was asked, what am I holding in my hand? And he went, it's a spade, mate. Do you think Celtic will win the league? Yes, I do. That is what happened. And for people to feel that can be, oh my God, you can't say that, mate. That's how diluted a world we live in mentally. You watch any boxing match. Now, I think boxing is probably the most mentally tough game or sport, I should say, in the world. Every single boxer you see before a match tells you they're going to win. Every single one of them. I don't disrespect them for that. I think they're stupid for that. What they are doing is saying, that's the belief I've got in what I do. This is what I train for. Giakoumakis has trained his bollocks off. He's watching his teammates work their bollocks off. He's watching their mentality when they were 6 points behind, turn it around. And he's going, do you know what? After all this, I think we're better than them in every department. I think we'll win the league. I don't see anything wrong with it. I actually think it could be an iconic quote from Giacomakis. Not my spade's a spade one, which I think is up there. But I'm joking. I think, though, Giacomakis' quote when he says that, we might not be looking back at that with ego on his face. We might be looking at that and going, that's the seismic shift in attitude Celtic have shown in the second half, particularly this season.
Yeah, I don't think I know a lot of people were making a lot out of it at the time, but I think Ange would actually enjoyed that. There was this whole idea that Ange will be, pull him into the dressing room, kick his arse for that. I don't think so. I think Ange will be like, good on you for saying that. I think he'll quite respect that. I just feel that maybe people are still remembering, was it 10 years ago when Nikita Jelavic said the title's in the bag when they were 15 points in front, I believe, and then we still ended up winning the league that season. I think a lot of people just think back to that one. That's one of the very few instances I can think of where there's been a comment like that. It's not something that happens too often. Usually when there is sort of confident we're going to go on and win the title, it usually happens. That's the only one I can think of where it dramatically backfired. But in the day, we're not saying we've won the title yet. It is a very, very close race. We're only 3 points in front with 8 games to go. But something you mentioned on Wednesday night in the post-match pitch was you talked about drawing parallels to Strachan's title winning team, the Strachan era. The 2008 one, his third title, we were in a position where we had 8 games to win and we had to win them. There was no ifs or buts about it. It was like, you've got 8 games now. And I remember we won every single one of them and it culminated with the victory at Tannadice in the Thursday night game. But that also, we had 2 games against Rangers in that run
Phil,
as well. Aye.
We need to stop you. Alan Billis, welcome on the bus, son. Hey! So Alan he's been thinking what to do with his Sunday afternoon after he watches the most hated team in the world pull off a performance like they did. And all Alan can do in his Sunday afternoon, he's got no pub to go to. He's got no missus to go back to. He's got Google and he searches Celtic podcast. He wants to come on YouTube and he wants to call me wee bitter boise. The Queen, he brings the Queen into it. The Queen's 11. Get it right up here. Well, Alan, it has been brilliant having you on the bus, mate. And you keep doing what you do. And whatever joy you find in searching Celtic podcast or searching my name on Google, rest assured, mate, the pleasure is all mine. But we will have to say, adios, son. You are blocked. Ta-ta. That's great fun, eh? Oh, I love it. I love
element
it.
there, mate. Loving it.
Oh, mate. See, the bus sometimes, we just run folk down, mate. It's so, and he's now sitting there furiously typing his keyboard a witty reply, right? Which he'll think will be sharp darts, and it won't appear. But Alan, I know you're still watching, son. You hit that subscribe button, you little fucker, because I love it.
You can't throw your granny off the bus, but you can throw Alan off the bus. There he goes.
It's so much fun. I love it. Paul McFarlane wants to know when we're taking over the Hydro. Well, I tell you this, with guests like Phil McGinley, that might be the next thing. No, I'm only joking. We might try. We need to get the live event done. I need help with that. If someone's got a venue near Celtic Park, they think I can sort the rest. I'll be able to get some sort of music sorted. We might need to ticket it just to afford the live act I get, and obviously, hopefully get me a diluting juice or something out it. That'd be happy days. But we look forward to doing it, and a lot of people laughing.
I'd definitely be up for doing that if it came along. I would definitely be along in that one.
Mate. We'll get Roy Keane down as well. Get him sitting in one of those big leather comfy chairs. The bus patter, that started with me. And I'm like, bastard, so it did. Anyway, I think that's, at this point, we're just looking at waves of optimism. I think it's the right time to call the show. I have had a super Sunday on the bus. It's been brilliant with the result that we've just done. The fact we all know that was, as I say, one of the larger rocks, and what will still be a rocky road. But we've accomplished it. We've done it. Phil, you've been back on the show. You enjoyed yourself?
Thoroughly enjoyed it again, mate. I've noticed in the last couple of years, like Celtic podcasts and fan media pick up the name McGinley does seem to pop up on a lot of different podcasts. So I figured I'll come and be the Boise Buses McGinley. I'll be your
only McGinley, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate. Thanks.
You're the number one McGinley. Let's play some music. I'll see you all later. Everyone enjoy your Sunday, particularly you, Alan. Thanks for watching. I know you're still there. We all can see you. We can see you sneaking out. Anyway, see you all later. Thanks again, Phil. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Enjoy your Sunday. It's been another glorious one. See you later.
Right, see you.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.